This is a podcast by the Straits Times.
Hello and welcome to Pop Vultures, a pop culture podcast by the Straits Times. My name is Jen Lee and I'm joined by...
Yo, Sam Joe. What's up, everyone?
So right now it's episode 15 and thank you everyone for accompanying us all the way to episode 15. If you remember our very first episode, we actually did a deep dive on BTS and the ins and outs of K-pop and how it's really taken the world by storm. So today we are returning to our roots and we are talking about K-pop again, but this time it's a little bit about the dark side of K-pop because of the very sad news of former FX member Sulli, who died in a suspected suicide earlier this year.
Right, so for those of you like me who maybe weren't aware before the news broke, so FX is actually a very famous South Korean girl group, and Sulli used to be a member of this girl group, but she left in 2015. Unfortunately, she was found dead earlier this month in a house at a tender age of 25.
Yes, which is my age. So it actually hit me quite hard because I realized she was so young.
Right.
This might seem to a lot of people who are not familiar with K-pop like an isolated incident, but suicide is actually fairly common in South Korean entertainment. Sad to say, previously in 2017, Jong-hyun of SHINee also took his own life. And a lot more actually when you talk about actresses and actors, Park Yong-ha, Choi Jin-sil, in 2009, Jang Ja-yeon as well died of a suicide. It was ruled as a suicide, but there's some controversy on that, and we'll get into that later. So we actually also did a podcast earlier this year after Seungri was involved in a very big scandal called the Burning Sun scandal that has just rolled and snowballed into something even bigger than any of us could have imagined. He was accused of being involved in corruption and prostitution charges and things like that. So we'll get into all of that and why there are so many things that seemingly is going wrong with K-pop. But actually these things have been around for a long time, and we'll get into why exactly so many scandals are coming out of K-pop this year.
Yeah, so essentially on the surface, it's a very glamorous industry, of course. K-pop has taken the world by storm, to say the very least. But there is a very, very ugly underbelly, right?
Cyberbullying, toxic fan culture, sexual abuse, corruption, things like
exploitation, the stress that comes with it. So we're going to touch on all of that right now and basically show you guys that, it's not really all a bed of roses when it comes to being a K-pop star.
So firstly, let's get into just the immense stress of being an idol, which, very sadly Sulli has given us an example of. She was apparently depressed before her death, and many have linked it to cyberbullying. So Samjo, tell me a little bit about how the industry can be very competitive and toxic.
Right. So, speaking of Sulli is an interesting case because, she had spoken up about cyberbullying before, and that's why people have linked it, to the fact that she was depressed and all that. Of course, nothing's been proven at the moment. They don't suspect any foul play. But suffice to say, she and many others, of her like, as super huge celebrities in the K-pop industry, are just exposed from a very young age to immense stress. And this is not stress like, I'm taking my PSLE kind of stress. Okay, we're talking about...
Which is also stressful.
We've all been through it.
We've all been through it. But this is stress at the next level. It's scrutiny and stress.
Right. Because not only do a lot of these stars start off training very young, okay, and then they get groomed by a management or talent agency, if say they actually do make it, the management controls, even before they make it, the management controls every single thing about them, okay? From their lifestyles, whether or not they're allowed to date, chances are they're not, right?
What they eat,
what they wear, what they can say or cannot say, to the media, to the public, what kind of friends they can hang out with. So imagine growing up in this environment from a very young age where you are told what to and what not to do, but in all aspects of your life, not just whether or not you should study, whether or not you can watch TV. So you can imagine there's a lot of pent up stress that can result from this.
Of what if I do the wrong thing? And it's very scary, and it's also scrutiny, right? It's not just the fact that they're being controlled, it's also the fact that every move they take, fans fans comment on what they wear, fans comment on, how heavy they are, whether they have spots on their face and things like that. That sort of scrutiny can be very unhealthy for anyone, but I would think especially for someone very young, a teenager in in the midst of puberty, right?
Right.
So that would be even more stressful. Puberty is really as stressful as it is, right? As we know. And teenagers generally have not yet fully developed capabilities, I think, to handle this sort of scrutiny and stress. We know Sulli debuted at the age of 15, so that's very young. And she was training since before that. She was a child star as well for a little bit. I think she made an appearance in a period drama previously as a kid. Yeah.
So sometimes things can take a very extreme turn, right? Like, so I think we mentioned this on previous podcasts as well. You know, the members from Eastlight, also another K-pop group, right? And
they were verbally and physically abused by their management.
Right.
Yes.
Hit by a baseball bat.
They were definitely like scolded very badly, and definitely like there was physical violence towards them.
Yeah.
So of course we're not really sure in Sulli's case. I think maybe there wasn't this sort of violence towards her, but definitely she was under a lot of stress, and the K-pop industry has seen. We have seen that the K-pop industry is capable of being very cruel, I think, to its talents.
Yeah.
So not just that, also just how competitive fans can be and how toxic the fan culture can be. I would even call this not really a fan culture, it's a hater culture, like how toxic it can be. I mean, Sulli, I think in her life, she was subjected to so many comments by antis, like people who just hated her, calling her provocative, calling her out for everything, everything she did. She was just so many comments. And Sulli was...
For those of us who are not familiar, what were the kind of comments she had to deal with? Like, give some examples.
Okay, so Sulli was quite special in the sense that she really did a lot of things outside the K-pop mode, She dated openly. She dated a member of a dynamic duo, it's a hip-hop group. She dated Choiza. He was 14 years older than her. He is 14 years older than her. And I think she was only 20 when they started dating. So when this news came out, people went insane and started saying that she's very scandalous, very provocative. Why is she dating a man so much older than her? And then she openly posted photos of the two of them kissing or going on dates. And people just piled on those criticisms. And then she's also like very well known for not wearing a bra. Like she's just advocating like, why do I have to wear a bra? Like it's insane, a bra is so uncomfortable, which I agree with as a woman. But she was also criticized for that. It's like, why is she so attention seeking? Why is she not wearing a bra? She's just trying to get people to talk about her, things like that.
I see.
Yeah.
So she actually got hate for just being herself, basically.
Just being herself. And then she also, she was one of the very rare South Korean celebrities who openly celebrated when abortion was legalized in the country. And of course, we know that people have very strong feelings about all of those things. So she was also criticized for that. Yeah.
Right.
And this anti-culture and hater culture can really manifest itself in very insidious ways. Like, I think who is half of pop duo DBSK, Dongbang Shinki, he was given a drink laced with like glue or some sort of adhesive by a hater years ago.
When he was filming a variety show.
Or something like that.
A fan went up to him, passed him a drink. He was like, oh, thank you very much. I'm thirsty. He drinks it. Next thing you know, he coughs up blood.
Because there was like adhesive in the drink, so he had to get sent to the hospital. It was very scary. So this sort of antis, haters who really just hate on idols for no good reason.
Right.
Sometimes they can be fans of other groups, but a lot of the times they're just haters. It can really go very far, and they can really be hounded by this sort of fans. I don't know why it's so rampant in South Korea, but it is. And also, fans, okay, I wouldn't call them fans, sasaengs. So they are considered like, it's actually called private life fans because they like stalk the idols, or they, steal personal items from them, or hang around their family homes. I think at one point GD complained that fans were scaring his mother because they were just like hanging out near his family home, hoping to catch like a glimpse of him.
GD being G-Dragon
from Big Bang,
super popular pop group Big Bang. Yeah.
The more famous you are, the worse it gets. Really. So clearly, it's a very stressful industry, and it can take a toll on the mental health of these people who are working in the industry, as we have seen, and it has taken the lives of several of these people who, after they, succumb to depression or anxiety, panic disorders. More than one star has come out to say that they have been suffering from mental health issues. So it's really, it's not great lah. I think the industry as it is now is clearly a very stressful place.
Alright guys, at this point, if you're enjoying this episode of #PopVultures, do remember to subscribe to us, find us on the Straits Times podcast channel. Look, we are available on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, alright? So go look for us, just search #PopVultures. Please rate, subscribe, follow us, tell all your friends about us. Thank you very much.
Yes. Now back to the show. So talking about how stressful the industry is and like how rampant suicides can be, I think inevitably you come to the case of Jang Ja-yeon, an actress who died in 2009. I think her most famous role was she was one of the mean girls in the South Korean version of Boys Over Flowers. Yeah. So one of the antagonists lah. She died shortly after the show. I think in 2009. She was only 29 then.
29, like
yeah. So her death is a little bit different because a lot of people are saying that maybe it wasn't actually a suicide, that maybe foul play was involved. So just a little bit of background. She was on the verge, I think, of reporting sexual abuse against her to the authorities. Like she was very close to reporting on the people who sexually harassed her, and she was apparently coerced into prostituting herself by her management company. So there are many theories about this, and it's like been 10 years since she died, and she hasn't received any justice for whatever she had to suffer through in life.
Because there were reports also that she left a suicide note, but that's not verified.
So it's very weird. Like apparently there was this 7-page note that was found in the dustbin of this some company that she was supposed to send it to someone, and then somebody threw it away or something like that, and then somebody retrieved it, things like that. So it's a lot of conspiracy theory in the Jang Ja-yeon case. So I'm not keen to like make any for sure statements.
Sure, but just for the benefit of those people who may not have heard, I mean, at this point in time, everything is shrouded in mystery. We're not really sure. But the significance of this letter is that, it was allegedly her suicide note, where in which she named a lot of important
list
people.
Of men, a long list of men who apparently she was forced to sleep with, and who also like molested her while she was forced to eat and drink with them.
And these are not ordinary men. A lot of them are very influential figures in the entertainment and media industry. Yeah, so I think...
Or CEOs and presidents, just important people in business. Yeah.
In general, right? So there is this talk that, maybe she did kill herself because she was tired of having to be coerced into, sexually entertaining these male figures, so to speak.
There's also talk of foul play because people suspect that maybe she was about to bring this to the authorities, and there is talk that the suicide note doesn't look like a note. It looks like a documentation of documentation that you might want to bring to the police. Like it looks a bit official and formal.
I see.
So people are suspecting that maybe it's foul play. Like she was this close to bringing it to the police, and people silenced her.
So she was thwarted in that sense. I see.
Yeah. So the case was reopened in 2018 with her friend Yoon Ji-oh, who was at the time also working with one of her colleagues in the entertainment company, who apparently witnessed the molest of her by a reporter at a very big South Korean newspaper, Chosun Ilbo. So I think she came forward to testify. I'm not sure how far that case has gone, but I think that friend has since like returned to the US because she was being threatened. People were saying that she's lying and things like that, and it's been the longest time since she's been speaking out and trying to get justice for her friend lah. But cases like this are really not uncommon in South Korea, and the Jang Ja-yeon case is particularly sad because while a lot of people have been like implicated, none of them have really been held responsible. I think aside from is it her manager who apparently forced her to prostitute herself lah? Like apparently it was him.
Right.
We're not sure.
So sexual exploitation, and the fact that you said it's more common than we think. I mean, her case happened to be a very high profile case, but what about everyone else who is currently suffering in silence?
Exactly.
And I mean, this is pretty reminiscent of the whole Me Too movement. If you ask me, that's going on in America and Hollywood right now, right? It's been decades and decades and decades of
Harvey Weinstein just coercing women to sleeping with him. Yeah,
exactly.
basically. Bryan Singer molesting talents, things like that.
Which brings us on to our next point, which is like, why is it that for so many years such misconduct has been has been going on without anyone actually catching on to it? And we do believe that there is some element of corruption and cover up that comes into play here.
Like the Jang Ja-yeon case, it took so long for it to be reopened, and up till now nothing has really been done for her, and people are very openly suspect that it's corruption or it's cover-ups.
Yeah, and speaking of corruption, I feel like I guess one of the biggest and more recent examples would be the Burning Sun scandal, which I think Jen mentioned earlier. Basically, it started with Seungri from Big Bang being exposed, and then it implicated Jang Ja-yeon,
who apparently took videos of women during sexual encounters without their knowledge.
And then shared them
and
in a
shared
Kakao chat group.
Shared them with all his friends.
Obviously, including Seungri. Right.
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly,
All
yeah.
right. And then of course this scandal is very interesting to me, and I think very importantly also to all of Korea, which is why the South Korean president himself also is like, personally very invested in getting to the bottom of this scandal, because it didn't just involve 1, 2, or 3 big stars. It involved a whole slew of them, and we're not talking just celebrities like
it involved YG, Yang Hyun-suk himself,
Yeah.
the founder of YG Entertainment, one of the largest entertainment talent agencies in South Korea.
Right. And so, I mean, if you're not familiar with YG, but you've definitely heard of Big Bang, you've definitely heard of 2NE1, you've heard of Blackpink. Now, these are all bands that
Came out from YG. Yes.
came from YG, exactly.
And
so
it
that's
ended
huge.
the careers of them. It ended careers.
Right. They were forced to leave the limelight. So not just these people, but also who else?
Choi Jong-hoon, is it?
Right, Choi Jong-hoon from the rock band FT Island. Right, you have
Yong
Jung
Jun-hyun
Hyun from Highlight. You have Lee
Jong-hyun
Jong-hyun
from CN Blue. These are like all second gen groups. It's very sad. And second gen groups, these are all names that you would know.
Right.
So it's shocking, like
Right.
how many of them were involved in, looking at videos of women who were taped unconsensually, who were apparently some of them have been accused of rape. Some of them have been accused of asking the police to cover up their crimes.
Right. So even police officials have been implicated in this, which is back to our point about corruption and covering up. So
And
were
apparently
authorities complicit, I mean, in helping to cover up.
And apparently the Burning Sun scandal took so long to come out, and apparently shady business practices have been going on for a long time at Seungri's club, and it only took so long to come out because apparently, again, this is all alleged, but the police was covering up for them lah. Like, they were getting favors and special treatment from the police to not really investigate them. I think one of the people that we mentioned just now, he was involved in a car accident, and he got out of it. Like, he got out of a drink driving charge because he had ties to someone in the police or something like that. I think even Yang Hyun-suk himself, also apparently he has a lot of shady business practices. Like, he used the funds that he got from concerts of his talents to gamble, like at casinos, like to gamble illegally. Like, that's embezzlement, right?
Basically squandering all of your concert profits and proceeds.
Yes.
Essentially.
There's a lot of stuff there going on,
Right.
and
once one started to fall, the rest of them, it's like domino effect, right? All started to topple.
yes, and it's been very hard. I think aside from Zhang Jian, who like openly admitted, yeah, I took those videos of those women without their consent. It's been very hard to get like indictments and arrests. Like, it's been very hard to like pin blame down and actually like get them to go in front of a court for trial and things like that, because people are suspecting, is it because somebody is covering up for them? And this sort of like special treatment for celebrities and special treatment for people who are very rich is not rare in Korea, like in South Korea. I think a lot of celebrities who get involved in drug scandals get like probationary jail sentence. It's like they
what does
don't
that even
actually
mean?
they don't go to jail. Basically, it's like your jail sentence is technically 2 years, but I give you a probationary jail sentence, which means that if you behave well in 4 years,
Right.
then you don't have to go to jail for those 2 years.
And this is like, I mean, come
Unless you
on.
behave badly within those 4 years, then we will send you to jail for 2 years.
Right.
Like,
And not everyone gets this sort of lucky break, right?
yeah, it's very weird.
Is it just a sentence that they slap onto a celebrity so it can be reported by the media and
that they were punished?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But they're not actually being punished.
So the
right?
legal side basically is to close the legal proceedings, right? It's done, we checked. Yeah, he's guilty.
Right.
Yeah. We have a sentence handed out, but they don't actually pay for the crime lah.
Right.
So people always feel like, why is it that all these rich and famous people get away? And this is not like, I think even I think, is it the son of Samsung or something like that? He was also involved in some crimes, and they all get away with like a slap on the wrist lah. So
Right.
the South Korean public has been very tired of this sort of corruption and cover-ups and like special
Like
treatment.
preferential treatment. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, with all this corruption, the dark side that we've talked about in the K-pop industry, what can we actually take away from it? Say if we are a K-pop fan, right? Supporting this industry, like what can we do? I mean, is there anything we can do? Do we just sit quietly and like watch it unfold?
I mean, I think we both have different opinions on this. So I'll go first. I think fans really are the driving force of the K-pop industry. Like, the profits come from fans, and I think fans just have to take a stand lah when they see things like cyberbullying, where they see things like harassment, Me Too, when they see things like corruption, they have to speak up, right? I mean, honestly, I think it's very hard for fans to like land someone in jail. Like, I think it's very hard for the public to do anything for the Jang Ja-yeon case now, given that she's dead, and it's very hard to convict someone of a sexual crime when one of the parties, when the victim cannot speak up. So, okay, there's very little we can do in those sense. But I think as fans, we can look at somebody like SM Entertainment, who's had 2 deaths, they had 2 suicides of their talents, and be like, why is this happening? Are you providing enough and adequate mental health support to your talents? Shouldn't that be compulsory?
Shouldn't it be a priority?
Yeah, and it should. I honestly think it should be compulsory, regardless of whether someone is actually suffering from mental health issues. For like K-pop idols and like actors and actresses to just check in with a psychiatrist once in every 3 months or something, because clearly this sort of scrutiny is not healthy for anybody, right? This sort of stress is not healthy for anybody. They should just, for their own mental health wellness, go speak to a therapist once in a while. Like, I think that's important, and I think fans can ask that of can hold I think entertainment companies a little bit more accountable for things like that, and also to just be more accepting like when you see somebody who is living their life a bit outside of the convention, if they want to date, if it's not like they committed crimes, if they want to date, let them date, right? Like, fine, whatever. If they want to leave the group, I understand a lot of fans of FX were very upset with Sulli for leaving FX and calling her like a betrayer. She's so selfish. Why is she leaving the group? She's like just because she was one of the youngest. They would say her older sister treated her so well, and she's just turning her back on them. And I'm just like, people have different goals in life, and sometimes those goals don't align with the group, and maybe she left because of that, and she has spoken up before that she didn't feel like FX was the right place for her.
Right.
And while I understand from a fan's perspective why you might feel upset about her leaving, that I don't think there's any need to abuse them.
Yeah,
like,
and I think that sometimes fans, and especially super fans, like, they forget a lot of the time that these idols don't exist purely for the fans. I mean, it's not
you're not entitled to them.
Exactly, you're not entitled to their lives and what they do, so let's remember that. And the next point I'm going to make, actually I really agree with what you said, and next point I'm going to make is in no way defending, like, all the celebrities that have, committed crimes and have maybe been let off too easily. I'm talking about those people who have been cyberbullied, like the Sulli and the rest of them. I just want to say this, I guess, to all the fans as well. Like, I mean, these are our stars and celebrities, right? Let's celebrate and, raise them up and adore them. Let's celebrate them for their achievements and for what we enjoy in them and the entertainment that they bring. Let's not extinguish them as stars. Like, so I think, after all, they're human. And, like, I think everything that you say, even if it's, behind a keyboard, like, people do read these things, and
they do
and
it's
it does
very
get
sad.
to you. And I know that, I mean, we've all interviewed, like, very famous people before as well, and we, at the end of the day, we know that they're also human, and as much as they may seem like they rise above these, like, hate comments, they do get affected.
They do. I mean, a lot of people say, yeah, but you got into the industry and you're rich and famous because of it, so just deal with it. Deal with what comes with being a public figure. Of course, being a public figure comes with, like, scrutiny and people saying stuff about you that might not be very nice, but, like, some comments are literally asking stars to go and kill themselves, or like, or calling them sluts, or like,
no one should be
subject to those things no one should be subject to those things. I don't think there's any reason to ask someone to kill themselves.
Anyway, right now we also just want to say, like, if you're listening, I mean, our discussion today, we covered cyberbullying, we covered suicide, and I guess we just want to, let you guys know, if you're listening, and if you yourself, have been a victim of cyberbullying, if you have any depressive thoughts, do know that, it's okay to seek help. You have people like Jen and me, and loved ones
and your
around
friends,
you.
and definitely your friends.
Yeah, who will always be willing to listen to you. Okay, so don't ever feel like you're alone. And I guess we just wanted to send you some love over here.
Yeah.
All right. So on this very somber but heartfelt note,
yes.
I guess that's your dose of pop culture for this week. The dark side of K-pop. Let us know what you think. If you have any thoughts on this topic, or if you have any personal experiences you want to share with us, you can always write to us. You can email Jen at
jenlee@sph.com.sg, and you can email Samjo at
yosemjo@sph.com.sg.
And please follow us on Spotify at #PopVultures. And do let us know what you want to hear about next.
All right, so until next time, she's Jen Lee.
And he's Sam Joe.
And we are
Pop Vultures. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was an SPH podcast by the Straits Times and the Business Times. Find us on Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts, or streaming on Google Home. Do feedback to us at podcast@sph.com.sg. You can also check out more podcasts on various topics at the Straits Times and the Business Times online.